Hi guys, once again welcome to my channel Qton Tech. Today we will be building an HTPC which is intended for multimedia and recreational activities. The HTPC will be mainly focused for watching movies and listening to our musics. So the main components that we will be using for making the system are as follows. You can see that this is a cabinet from a company called Circle. This one is available in Amazon for around 2500 rupees. This is sleek and compact and ideal candidate for an HTPC. Regarding the other components, as you can see here, I have carefully chosen the parts so that this will require minimum power requirement. I have chosen an AMD Sempron APU chip which was released a few years back. You can see this is a small motherboard which do not have any other north bridge or south bridge apart from the main processor. The processor is AMD Sempron 2650 and this processor only consumes 25 watts. That means this is very much power efficient. It even has a very small heatsink, as you can see that. Apart from that, I am choosing an SSD hard disk which is having a capacity of just 64 GB. We will be installing a small footprint operating system that can just serve our purpose like movie watching and music listening. And in order to provide Ethernet connectivity, I have chosen an Wi-Fi adapter PCI Express card that we will plug into the following PCI Express slot. Regarding memory, I have chosen two RAMs which I had in my hand. One of them is 4 GB 1600 MHz and the other one is 2 GB 1600 MHz. So altogether our system will be having a dual core AMD Sempron CPU with 6 GB of RAM. By the way guys, I forgot to mention that this cabinet also comes with an inbuilt SMPS supply which is provided by the Circle company. The power supply is of 250 watts and can power our system easily. Also, the Sempron processor that we have chosen by default has an inbuilt graphics card which is powered by AMD Radeon R3 graphics. So for watching high definition video and other stuff, this is more than enough. Now what I have done is that I have placed a thermal pad across the CPU. Before installing the heatsink on the CPU, you must first apply thermal paste or thermal pad. I have chosen thermal pad because this is maintenance free and this is easily available in the market. Now I have mounted the heatsink and we just need to connect this CPU fan over the connector here which is written CPU fan. There are usually two fan connections on the motherboard. One of them is CPU fan and the other one is system fan or the chassis fan. Be careful that you connect it properly to CPU fan. The next step is to install the memory or the RAM to your motherboard. So if you note that the RAM has a notch which is around here. So the connector will also be having a corresponding notch here. So ensure that these get aligned properly, else you might damage your RAM. So kindly ensure these are aligned and place it over here and gently push it in so that these may get locked. Yes, that's it. So in the similar way, I will be installing the RAM in the another slot. Now we have completed installing the CPU and the RAM and almost all the parts on the motherboard. Now it's time for us to transfer this motherboard into our cabinet. So this is the back panel of our motherboard. The first task before you install the motherboard is to place the back panel appropriately in the cabinet. You have to place the back panel over here and then you have to press it on the sides so that it will get locked. Now you can see that the back panel has got locked in the cabinet. Later, you can move the motherboard gently into the cabinet and see that it is properly aligned. Now I have placed the motherboard properly in the cabinet and screwed the 4 ends of the motherboard to the cabinet. Now the motherboard is firm and steady inside the cabinet. Now the next step is to connect the power from the SMBS to the motherboard. So this is the main power connector that brings power to the motherboard. So we need to connect it to the main power port on the motherboard here. So the main power port power is connected. Next, you can place the Wi-Fi card to the PCI Express slot. Now you can see that I have placed the Wi-Fi card in the PCI Express slot. The only parts now remaining are to connect the front panel connections and USB front panel connections. So I will be going through detailed analysis and connecting these connectors on the motherboard. For each motherboard, these points are different, so you have to be careful while connecting these connectors. Now we have completed almost all the connections. I have connected the front panel audio, the front panel USB and the front panel power button, reset button, hard disk LED and power LED over here. And also a chassis fan is provided with the cabinet. I have connected it directly to the SMPS. So when the computer powers up, the chassis fan will rotate along with it. So now we have completed the connection of the motherboard and the main motherboard peripherals except the hard disk which is left over. So before connecting the hard disk, we can power our system and see if the BIOS display is coming. So now I will be powering the system by pressing the power button. So the power indicator has lightened up and the fan, CPU fan and chassis fan are rotating. So yes, now the computer BIOS is up and our system has been powered up properly. Next we can wire up the hard disk and complete the hardware assembly part. Now I have connected the hard disk to this motherboard. The hard disk assembly section of this cabinet is a bit tricky. So actually this is having an extension part like this, which will be housing the CD drive if you are using one, and the hard disk, which is an SSD hard disk, will be coming underneath. So after completing the assembly, this part will be going as such. So the hard disk is safe inside here, and if you are using a hard disk, if you are using a CD drive, it will be going inside here. Since we are not using any CD drives, we will be just connecting the hard disk and completing our assembly and closing the enclosure. So now this is our HTPC in action. We have completed the hardware installation part and we have completed the complete assembly of the cabinet. So you can see that the cabinet is sleek and most apt for an HTPC. Now we will be continuing with the software part in our next video. Thank you.